An explosion that changed safety regulations forever. East Texans gathered to honor the hundreds of lives lost in the New London school explosion that changed regulations on natural gas.
KLTV 7's Alex Weister is sharing the impact felt even 89 years later.
March 18th, 1937 started as a normal school day for students of New London. As the day winded down, a shop teacher, Lemmy Butler, went to turn on an electric sander in his classroom.
He was doing what he loved best, being a teacher.
No one in the school knew that a gas line had been leaking in the school, and at 3:17 p.m., hundreds of lives were changed in an instant.
But to think that there were that many people surrounded by this secret, silent, there was no way of detection.
Lisa Cunningham Sepulveda and Marita Cunningham are cousins of Lemmy Butler. Only recently learning of their connection, they attended the ceremony honoring the lives lost 89 years ago.
Well, I just felt a deep sadness for all the people that were touched by this.
294 students and adults were killed in the explosion. Krista's mother, Frances, was scheduled to open the next day, but opened early to help the victims.
Countless physicians, nurses, and the 18 sisters worked 36 hours without sleep to care for the victims.
The explosion also led to legislation being passed, now making natural gas have an odor it did not have before.
Well, you think that at least something good came out of 300 people being killed, so I'm glad that we are protecting other people along the way.
Lisa says that while their cousin died tragically, they're thankful change has been made.
In a way, I felt like my cousin was a martyr for the world.
Alex Weister, KLTV 7 News.
Those crosses you saw in Alex's story there will stay at the monument, the epitaph, for the remainder of the week, we're told.